3. Ladies and gentlemen, programmers and potential streamers from around the world, welcome to the Daily Code, episode 19. I'm assertchris, and I thought that I would take this opportunity, after having done a mere 19 streams, to share a little bit about the things I've learned about streaming, about my workflow. This show is dedicated to the wonderful Matt Stauffer, and any of my other friends who are contemplating streaming, wanting to know how to set things up, just generally exploring the idea. It's kind of out of the ordinary as far as the streams that I usually do, which are usually about code and PHP and JavaScript. And the mice are going crazy. So, sorry about that noise. I usually stream about code. Today I'm just streaming about streaming, which is very meta and kind of fun. And before I do that, I want to preface this entire thing with watching a video to get you thinking about why you want to stream, why you want to record, why you want to do any of this kind of thing. So, without further ado, let's watch this video. Oh, wait, I need to adjust audio settings. Hold on. No, not that window. Not that window. Not that window. OBS. Hold on. Usually I have the volume quite low on desktop audio. So that should be a lot louder now. Let's see how this goes. My apologies if this is very loud.
Sometimes I find myself stressing about YouTubery questions like, what kind of videos should I make? Should I have a regular schedule of one video a week like John Green says I should? How do I get more viewers? Should I be making my videos more actually educational? Do I need more snakes? How do I do this right? Sometimes I feel the pressure of all those eyes watching me. That's when I need to take a step back and open up They Became What They Beheld by Ted Carpenter to the foreword and reread the wisest words I know. I recently came across the following rules of communication posted in a school of journalism. 1. Know your audience and address yourself directly to it. 2. Know what you want to say and say it clearly and fully. 3. Reach the maximum audience by utilizing existing channels. Whatever sense this may have made in a world of print, it makes no sense today. In fact, the reverse of each rule applies. If you address yourself to an audience, you accept at the outset the basic premises that unite the audience. You put on the audience, repeating cliches familiar to it. But artists don't address themselves to audiences. They create audiences. The artist talks to himself out loud. If what he has to say is significant, others hear and are affected. And I'm reminded of why I do this. Artists create audiences. I don't make videos for mass consumption. I make them for myself, to amuse myself, or because I have a cool concept that I want to make real. Carpenter meant it metaphorically, but I'm literally talking to myself. I am the only example of a human I have access to, the only one whose thoughts I can hear. So if I can make a video I like, at least it appeals to someone. If I were making videos for imaginary people whose thoughts I'm imagining, they'd probably be terrible. Let's read on. The trouble with knowing what to say and saying it clearly and fully is that clear speaking is generally obsolete thinking. Clear statement is like an art object. It is the afterlife of the process which called it into being. The process itself is the significant step and, especially at the beginning, is often incomplete and uncertain. The problem with full statement is that it doesn't involve. It leaves no room for participation. It's addressed to consumer, not co-producer. What a perfect description of what is wrong with education. There's a reason people prefer my videos, which ramble through my thought process, or Sal's Khan Academy videos, which he makes in real time, to the stale, polished information, let's memorize equations stuff that education publishers still insist on producing, as if they just put all the facts in the perfect order and add more splashy graphics that pretend what you're learning is good for sports or shopping, then surely it will suddenly be extremely successful. Up to a certain point, maybe you can know a little kid better than she knows herself, but these days people are savvy enough that it doesn't take them long to realize that they are being used as consumers. Utilizing existing channels can wipe out a statement. There is a widely accepted misconception that media merely serve as neutral packages for the dissemination of raw facts. Photographers once thought that by getting their photographs published in Life, they would thereby reach large audiences. Gradually, they discovered that the only message that came through was Life magazine itself, and that their pictures had become but bits and pieces of that message. The same thing occurs on TV guest shows. Guests accept invitations to appear on programs in the hopes that their message will reach new and wider audiences, but even when they are treated in a friendly manner, they generally come away with a sense of failure. Somehow, the message transmitted is far removed from the message intended. And so YouTube comes on the scene. The young today shun the hardware of the past. Marx thought the big question was, who owns the presses? Software makes hardware obsolete, an encumbrance, creating a false sense of power and security. The young package their messages in media that fit their messages. That is, they create new media to fit their messages. In so doing, they create their own audiences. Some of these audiences may be very small at the beginning. The point was that they would reach the right people in the right way with the right message. This was written in 1970. Ted Carpenter didn't know there would be an internet or a YouTube, but he knew this. Reaching a wider audience is not worth sacrificing your content. Better your message be heard clearly by a small audience than warped in favor of a large one. I would rather have one person know me well than a billion know me poorly. I didn't expect you to want to watch my videos. I thought maybe some of the math professor types in the math art community would like my stuff and that's it, but I'm glad you are watching because it turns out y'all are super cool. I know this because I've met a lot of you at events like VidCon, where you went from imaginary the audience to actual individual people, and it turns out I like you. I do want to make you happy. Nothing makes me angrier than when people want to use me in order to use you through advertising or promoting their pet projects or friends or whatever. But if I try to do things for you, it will destroy the very thing I'm doing. I'd be sacrificing my message for the sake of audience. Edmund Snow Carpenter doesn't have a large audience. He's dead. This book is long out of print and not so easy to find, which is why I'm showing so much of it to you. This unconventional book didn't make him famous, but his message came through. I don't know to what extent he's captured the difference between art and entertainment, or where education fits in, but it's enough to get me thinking. Someday YouTube probably will grow to the point that the medium will be the message. Already people are starting to feel that they have to do things a certain YouTube-y way in order to get their message out. People are obsessed with subscriber counts. They think they need to use flashy titles and thumbnails and sex appeal, that they need to become partners and join networks and solicit comments and subscriptions. There are accepted formats. If you have a message to share, please remember, you don't need those things. Maybe more people will hear you, but what you actually want to say could be lost. We'll take that format, which seems to work, and repeat those cliches until none of us are saying anything at all, and then YouTube will go the way of television. Too much medium, not enough message.
That's really cool. Okay, I'll put a link to that in chat. And let me just adjust the volume again, because I don't want to blast you with desktop audio when that happens again. So, before you consider streaming, think about why you want to stream. What is the purpose of what you want to do? And if it is because you want to learn, like, for instance, this is an incredible way of me streaming is an incredible way of committing myself to learning something, to learning for an hour, to doing some software development for half an hour to an hour and a half a day, so that I don't stop doing that, so that I'm constantly improving. And for me, that's good enough. Why do you want to produce content? Why do you want to make video? Do you want to get lots of people to view this stuff? Do you have something specific that you want to say? Is it something to do with your personal growth? Figure out what that stuff is. And it's bound to influence how you go about attracting people to watch your stuff, how you go about, where you put your stuff, how long you save it for, the kinds of things you do. Now, with that very meta stuff aside, this show is going to be entirely an info dump. So I'm probably going to forget to say things that I've discovered along the way or learned while I've been setting this stuff up. I'm probably going to ramble a bit. It's probably going to be difficult to follow, but you can always go back to the archives and watch it again, or skip to parts that speak specifically to the problem you're trying to solve, and use it as a reference more than anything else. This is not going to be a story or a journey. It's just going to be a reference. The very first thing you want to do, well, I mean, I don't really know where I want to start, but I guess I'll talk about SwitchRes X. I record on Mac, and if you're unfamiliar with the platform, the screen resolution on MacBook Pros, this is a 2015 Pro Retina. Let me just check if I'm dropping frames. No, it seems okay. I don't know. Maybe it was just because I was watching that YouTube video. Anyway, the screen resolution that these Macs have by default is 16 by 10, but the optimal streaming and video resolution is 16 by 9. So if you go to YouTube, the resolution's there, 16 by 9. So the very first thing that you encounter when you try and stream on a Mac is letterboxing or pillar boxing, because the resolution you're recording on is different from the resolution that YouTube is going to scale it to and that Twitch is going to want to show it as. So you can download this app called SwitchRes X. I think there is, I don't remember if it's free or not. I think, I can't remember if it's free or not. I think you get a free version that does what it needs to do, and then prompts you with ads every now and then, or doesn't do like all of the features or something. I don't remember. But what this does is it gives you a menu to set the resolution to a custom resolution. So by default, the resolution that this MacBook Pro Retina is going to be on is this 1440 by 900 high DPI, which is double that. It's 288 by whatever. And that's the default resolution. However, streaming to YouTube, you can stream HD video at 1280 by 720, not even high DPI. Whoa. I'll just kill that page. You can stream to YouTube at this resolution, which is 720p. You can up that to 1080p if you want to. Not that I need to, because generally when you're doing code, you don't need that higher resolution. You just bump up your font size, and that's sufficient. And especially on low bandwidth connections, 720p is probably a better option. I don't know if you want to go much lower than this, because then fonts become difficult to read in your code. But for the most part, this is fine. So this is what I set it to when I'm streaming. So this is a good app, right? This is a very good first step. It'll give you the right resolution. You can stream at 720p or 1080p with very little effort. And you can flip back to the default resolution when you're not streaming most of the time. And usually there's a bit of setup, right? Like I always find if I'm going to stream, I've got to set up like half an hour to 15 minutes beforehand. I've got to open Windows. I've got to get code up. So usually there's a bit of setup you do. It's not actually that hard to just switch this to the right resolution when you need to. Also, if you have, yeah, that's right, Greg. Like re-encoding is actually quite difficult, quite taxing. And we'll look at settings just now as well to try and reduce that tax on the CPU. But also, if you have, like, at home, where I stream this stuff, I have a secondary monitor, and I only plug that monitor in when I'm going to stream. So, the way that the Mac OS software works, it remembers the resolutions that I set these things to. So when I plug the monitor back in, it sets the MacBook's primary display, which is what I show the code on, sets that to this custom resolution. So most of the time, I don't even need to change this resolution. It's just the right ratio, which is pretty cool. And you can, it's a very cool app. So SwitchRes X. I'll go back to the home page so you can see what that looks like again, because the download page seems to have died. I don't even know. Yeah, okay. So it's here. I won't put all of these links in chat. Just go back to the video archives and have a look what they are if you want to find them. Okay, so that's switching resolution. The next thing you're probably going to want to deal with is piping audio out. If you only record with a mic, or you don't record with a mic and you only record with desktop sound, then it's fairly easy to configure those in OBS, and we'll see how. But if you want to do both, if you want to do mic and you want to do desktop audio, like often I stream music while I'm streaming, and so, I mean, I've got to do them both. Mac is kind of weird how it channels that audio. Again, these are very Mac-specific instructions, but I think this is even easier. Like, you don't have to worry about audio settings if you're using Windows, because it's just the way that it encapsulates that stuff is much neater. But if you're on Mac, you have to use an audio aggregator. The one I use is called WaveTap or WavTap. The one that's commonly used as well, another one that's commonly used is Soundflower. And what these do is they act as intermediaries for your system sound. So your applications output sound to these, and then you connect your earphone, you connect your headset, and you connect OBS, which is the streaming software. You connect using this as an output. So you push all the audio into Soundflower or WaveTap, and then those are the output audio that you use for your streaming device. Yeah, Greg uses Soundflower. I used Soundflower before. I find that WaveTap, I don't know. I mean, this was just the first one I got to work because at the time I was running El Capitan Beta, and it was, I tried both of them. I just got this to work. But they're very similar. They're very similar applications. They do the same thing. They're aggregates for sound output. I'll show you... Oh, okay. Let me show you how you configure that. So once you've installed one of these, you start getting a new audio device. If I go to System Preferences and Audio or Sound, and I check Output, I now have WaveTap. And if you've got Soundflower installed, you get that as an option here, right? I've also got this multi-output device, and I'll show you how you make that. But essentially, you set this as WaveTap, or Soundflower as an output in your streaming software. And in order to hear, that's a good point. Greg raises a very good point. I tried Soundflower and I got audio distortion in Mac, often. Some buffering story. I now remember why I used WaveTap. I got some buffering overflow error thing that was happening, and I would get massive distortion with Soundflower. And then I tried WaveTap and it worked, and it didn't have that problem. So maybe start with WaveTap. Anyway, a problem that you may encounter when you set these things up is that OBS picks them up, but you don't hear anything through your machine. You can't hear anything through headsets, so you can't hear if the music's playing or not. You can't hear desktop audio or not. So what you can do is you can go to, let me try and find the traditional way of doing this. Finder, go, Utilities, Audio MIDI Setup. You can go to this and you can create a new multi-output device. You can create a new multi-output device, and in that you can specify, let me just do it here and see what I can, okay, in that you can specify what the output channels are. Now I'm going to delete this because I already have one and I don't want to screw up my sound settings, but you create this multi-output device and then you specify which channels go to that. So you can specify the built-in output, which is desktop audio, whatever music app you've got, whatever YouTube stuff you want to play, and WaveTap as these two things. And then you can right-click on this and you can say, use this device for sound output and play alerts through this. And what this will do is it will continue to aggregate the audio data through WaveTap or Soundflower if you're using that instead. It'll continue to aggregate the audio through that, but it will also play the audio out through your earphone port, your built-in speakers, so you can hear what's going on in your desktop at the same time as OBS is getting that data, or your streaming app is getting that data. And you can also configure the volume that the stuff plays at. So for instance, I set the built-in output only to play at 15% so that it's not overpowering in my ears, but you control that separately with the streaming software. And we'll see again, we'll see how that works. So the streaming software can have a different volume level because it's getting that data from WaveTap. It's not getting that from the multi-output device. The purpose of this multi-output device is just to play audio through your headset, through the built-in speakers, so you can hear what's going on. This isn't captured by your streaming software. It's just for you to hear during your stream. Okay. Is that. So that is an audio devices, audio MIDI setup. Again, where to find that is you go Finder, go Utilities, Audio MIDI Setup. And that's what this box looks at. And once you've set this stuff, you can close this. Yes, you can close this window and it'll continue to use those settings. What next? Okay, to play music, I use the Spotify app because... for a couple of reasons. The first is that Twitch provides a service called music.twitch.tv. And this has a list of, this has playlists on it which contain only DRM-free music for the purposes of streaming on Twitch. So if you play this music, the music in playlists that you find here, or individual tracks that you find here, if you play this on your stream, Twitch will not mute you, and you do not need to get permission from these providers. You can play this music, and you will not get muted on Twitch, which is pretty cool to know. So I play a collection of this stuff, and generally I can store the videos in the Twitch archives. If you push your videos, your archived videos to YouTube, though, some of these tracks are not DRM free there, so you will not be able to run personal ads on those videos on YouTube. You'll still be able to have them there, and they won't mute them or remove the audio. They'll just credit the producer of the audio with any ad revenue. So, if you want to use YouTube as a medium to generate income for yourself, don't play don't play unlicensed music in your videos and upload those to YouTube, because you will not be able to turn ads on them. Rather, find music that is not going to be picked up by the YouTube Content ID, or don't have music. I don't know. I don't really mind that I can't make ad revenue on these videos on YouTube, because I think it's a better environment to have that music playing in the background while I'm coding, and really I want to enjoy the streams more than I want to make a few cents in ads for every stream. I mean, it doesn't really matter to me. It's not like that many people view this stuff anyway, so actually I only use YouTube as a way of archiving this stuff long term, because Twitch deletes stuff automatically. We'll look at that later. Okay, so what was that? Switch Res X. Yeah, there you go. Greg suggests playing from Bandcamp or Noise Trade. A lot of those things won't get flagged for YouTube or for Twitch. But you know, if you try playing an artist's audio and it gets flagged, just don't use that artist's audio on video again. If you want to keep the ads. Otherwise, if like me, you don't care about the ads, then by all means, play this music. It's okay to do it on Twitch. I don't know the legality of doing it on YouTube, but in my experience, Twitch will not mute video with tracks from this resource in it, and YouTube will neither. They won't force you to remove the videos or the audio or anything, but you just won't be able to you won't be able to generate your own ad revenue on that. Okay, enough about ad revenue. So Switch Res X we've looked at, WaveTap and Soundflower we've looked at, Twitch Music we've looked at. Oh yes, okay. So I mentioned I use the Spotify app. The reason I use this is because you can go to music.twitch.tv and you can subscribe to you can click through to a Spotify playlist from there, which is DRM free. Well, I guess DRM is the wrong term, but like free license to use on Twitch streaming, and you can subscribe to them on Spotify. Then you can, when you boot up this app, if you're logged into your Spotify account, you can actually download these for offline play. Which, if like me, you have a really bad connection, this allows you to have open license music for your streams without having to download them while your streams are being recorded. So for low bandwidth connections, this is much better. I can play the music directly off my machine. I don't need to download it while I'm trying to upload data to Twitch. Royalty free, that's it. Thank you. That's why I use this app for music on the Twitch streams. Generally, I use iTunes when I'm not streaming because I've got a lot more music there, and it's music I like listening to, and it would absolutely be flagged if I try to do streams with those. But this is cool. It also plugs into the Mac keyboard audio keys, so you can pause and unpause and skip tracks with this stuff. It's pretty cool. Okay, let's close that. Then to do the actual streaming, what I use is OBS, Open Broadcaster software. It supports all the operating systems you're going to want to run this on, and it is free, which is really cool. Download this for the platform that you use. The Windows settings, you can find a really good reference on Twitch itself. So if you search for Twitch OBS settings, you'll find really good reference for the Windows settings. They do not care about Mac settings, unfortunately. Either that or this is really outdated. But this will give you a good set of settings for running it on Windows. Look, it even looks Windowsy. For Mac, I had to do quite a bit of research and trial and error, and the first few streams were horrible. But what I've come to is, let me bring OBS over here. This is going to be super funny. Okay, I've arrived at the settings presented here. This is very... Okay, to start with, I have a few different scenes, and these are... I'll talk about these later, because there's actually like a bigger emphasis on that stuff. But I have a webcam source, which is the thing that you see me through, top right, the screen that I'm capturing, and a chat window, which is, if you add window capture and then you, I don't know, give it a name, and you pick a window for it to capture, that puts that window within this thing. So you can move it around and you can resize it. That's how I do this capture. Now, Greg, who is Simulated Greg in chat, wrote an aggregator for chat messages, which actually looks a lot better. But I so far haven't gotten it to work. Greg, can you post a link to that? To Greg chat? I haven't gotten it to work well, and usually I like do this setup 15 minutes before the stream, and so I never have time to get it to work well. I actually need to sit down one day and do this stuff. But anyway, these are the 3 windows that I usually have open. I'll talk about the others later. You know what? Actually, I want to take a break quickly and stretch my legs. So I'm going to do that quickly. I will be right back. Listen to some music, and I'll see you.